In a recent summary judgment handed down by the High Court, it was held that the libel and misuse of private information claims brought by Dee Adams, mother of Olympic gold medalist boxer Nicola Adams, against Amazon for a documentary about her daughter's life, had no realistic prospect of success and was dismissed. The case is notable for a couple of reasons. One, although such summary determinations in favor of the defendant are common in the US under its various anti-SLAPP measures, they are less common here in England, so it is worth paying attention to the judge's approach. Two, although the judgment was very well reasoned on the basis of well-established principles of law, the judge relayed a very personal message when reaching her conclusion, one that was echoed throughout the judgment, saying, "It is clear that the hurt is real on both sides, but this claim is not the right vehicle to address it." And three, the judge put considerable weight on the fact that the film was a telling of Nicola's own story when considering Dee's misuse of private information claim, and Nicola's right to do so, particularly in the context of such information having been shared publicly for a number of years. Looking briefly at the background to the case, Amazon produced a documentary called Lioness, the Nicola Adams story, about the first female boxer to win 2 Olympic gold medals and the first celebrity to compete in Dancing with the Stars in a same-sex couple. The film examined, amongst other features in her life, Nicola's difficult upbringing in Leeds, which included domestic abuse she experienced at the hands of her father. Nicola fully participated in the production. In other words, this was a telling of her story. The film included an allegation that Nicola's mother, Dee, quote, sent her daughter really horrible and threatening text messages, and by sending those abusive messages, she was perpetuating, in a different form, the abuse Nicola suffered at the hands of her father when she was a child. And that has ruined her relationship with her mother. The court considered each of the causes of action and defenses pleaded and determined that for each of them, Dee had no realistic prospect of success and granted summary judgment in favor of Amazon, the producer of the film. On the defense of truth, it was the claimant's position that Amazon would not be able to prove as true that the text messages caused the deterioration of the relationship between Nicola and her mother. The court was not convinced, however, that that causation element was the sting the defendant would be required to justify, noting that the real sting was the fact that Dee sent the abusive text to her daughter in the first place, which was not denied by her. To defeat the defense of honest opinion, Dee would have had to prove that Amazon knew, or ought to have known, that Nicola did not hold the opinion that the text messages perpetuated the harm she had suffered at the hands of her father. The court considered the, quote, ample evidence before her of the violence Nicola had suffered was in support of that opinion. In consideration of Dee's privacy claim, the judge was not convinced that the claimant had a reasonable expectation of privacy in the information that was shared in the documentary, for a number of reasons, including that the court expected Dee, as the parent of a celebrity, to have a, quote, reasonably robust and realistic approach to living in the 21st century. Most notably, the judge held that the public interest in Amazon and Nicola's own right to freedom of expression in telling Nicola's own story outweighed any residual Article 8 right held by Dee. The succinct judgment provides a careful analysis of the relevant precedents both on the libel and misuse of private information issues before the court, but also of the principles to follow in determining a summary judgment. Despite the claimant's argument that the issue to be determined was whether there was a, quote, no serious question to be tried, the court relied instead on the well-established principles in easy air that the claim must have some, quote, realistic prospect of success, meaning the claim carries, quote, some degree of conviction. It is notable in this case, however, that despite it not being for the court to conduct a mini-trial in these circumstances, the judge did have what she referred to as extensive evidence before her on which she based her decision. In short, helpful and notable guidance in an otherwise sparse landscape on reverse summary judgments in media law, colored by poignant commentary by the judge, which might be well heeded by those thinking of making their personal and painful family disputes more public by way of a claim in libel or privacy.